Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about heat warnings here in Canada and in many other parts of the world as well. So right now in southern Europe, officials say a blistering heat wave could break records with temperatures hovering around 45 degrees Celsius. Now, this is especially concerning for vulnerable people, as a report this week said a heat wave in the same region last year was responsible for the deaths of more than 61,000 people. 61,000. With heat events becoming more common and our population aging, keeping seniors safe in extreme weather is critical. For more on how to do that, we are joined from Victoria by BC Seniors Advocate Isabel McKenzie. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Many cities open public cooling centres, as we know, to help people escape the worst of the heat. How can they be made more accessible for seniors?
Well, I think we have to remember a few things. First of all, for many seniors, the awareness of the heating centers or cooling centers, may not be there. They're not as avid followers on the Twitter, the Facebook, et cetera, that some of the younger generation are. So knowing they're there, that might be part of the challenge. Getting there is the other part of the challenge. I think we need to remember that for many of us, the ability to, go down to the cooling center, go to the mall, go to the swimming pool is all fairly accessible for us. But for older people, the mobility ability to get there is difficult. And so we have to think about how are they going to get to these cooling centers. The other thing we have to realize is that it's the temperatures inside, not the temperatures outside, certainly that caused the fatalities during our heat emergency here in BC 2 years ago. And so we need to remember that for some of these more vulnerable people, generally the seniors, frailer seniors, they've got to get out of wherever they're living for 2 or 3 days. The ambient temperature is going to be too high for them. It may not be too high for you or me, but it is too high for somebody who's older. And so what is going to be our plan to get them somewhere where they can potentially stay for 2 or 3 days while the peak of the heat dome or heat wave recedes?
And Isabel, when we talk about that heat inside, what about classifying an air conditioner, for example, as a medical device? Would that make a difference?
I think it would for some. I think, what you have to do is either bring down the ambient temperature or take the person out of that. So you can bring the temperature down with an air conditioner, but we need to remember that's not going to be a solution for everyone everywhere. We found, in BC, a lot of the fatalities were in apartments where the ability to install an air conditioner, the kind of window you need, the electrical grid that you need in order to sustain multiple air conditioners firing up all at once may not be there. But I think it's helpful. And I think certainly different provinces here in BC, we've announced a plan over the next 3 years to get air conditioners to some vulnerable people in the population. I know Ontario's got a similar plan. I think that can be helpful, but it's not a total solution for everybody.
What about wellness checks? I mean, what's in place now and what should be in place?
Well, I think we need to remember, again, reflecting on our heat emergency here in BC and its high fatality rate, most of the people had somebody technically check on them. What they didn't have all the time was somebody who physically was in the location with the person. And the other thing is understanding the impact of the heat on older people is different in many cases from its impact on younger people. There's a difference between I'm uncomfortable in this heat and this heat is dangerous and fatal for me. And so that's what I think we need to recognize, looking for signs like if somebody is not normally confused and they become confused, if they're lethargic, certainly if they're vomiting or exhibiting other signs and symptoms like that, you need to actually get them to the hospital as quickly as possible, because there's a point at which just putting the fan on in the room and putting a cold compress on their head isn't going to do it. They're going to need a more serious intervention. And I think we shouldn't hesitate if we're concerned about getting our vulnerable loved one to the emergency department.
Isabel McKenzie, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.